All right, hello and welcome to another Mount Garden Read scary story. This one seems to have some really positive comments about it being really spooky, so I'm looking forward to it. This is called My Girlfriend Talks in Her Sleep by Irvan Lerpton on Our Scary Stories. My girlfriend talks in her sleep. At first, it was cute and hilarious to tell her what she'd said. It was harmless nonsense. The sky is folding, or we need to raise the ground. We talked the next day about it as she remembered her dream, but she never did. I wish I knew what she meant by we need to raise the ground. Some context. Our nightly routine is for us to start out cuddling and then give up once it gets too hot. Then we're usually both on our sides back to back. She would fall asleep before I would, so I would hear the full range of her nightly musings. Honestly, at first I was eager to hear what she'd say. It was always funny to tell her and our friends what she would say while deep in the throes of REM. But now I'm done. I'd prefer she not talk anymore. How am I going to sleep after what happened last night? Last night at around 11 p.m., she was asleep and I was still up reading. Back to back, I heard her mumble something under her breath. I couldn't quite make out what she'd said, but I leaned over from my book to peek at her face, and she was sleeping soundly. I returned to my book and got back absorbed into its pages. At some point, I fell asleep. Next thing I knew, I was awoken by my girlfriend talking at full volume. I opened my eyes, and at some point in the night, both of us have turned to lay face to face. My girlfriend's eyes are wide open, and she's staring right at me, mere inches from my face. But her eyes are vivacious, like she is looking through me. These eyes, man, it was like she was straining to widen them as much as possible. Those are the eyes I fell in love with, and right now, they are scaring the absolute piss out of me. My heart rate skyrocketed. I was chock full of adrenaline, so I throw off the covers and jump out of bed. Looking at her, her eyes follow me like a painting, but her body stays still. For 1 second, I decided that my book light was keeping her awake, and what she said was, "Can you please turn that off?" Now out of bed and looking at her, she's just not right. Her body hasn't moved, but her eyes dart from looking at me to looking around the room. I dare ask her, "Are you all right?" No response. Those eyes look at me while I speak, though. They are now deadlocked, looking right into my eyes. Her breathing has not changed. That is sleep breathing, I'm certain. And that's when, while looking right at me, she says in a too deep voice, "Come back to bed, dearie." My girlfriend has never called me dearie before. We have pet names, sure, but they range from pumpkin, baby, cupcake. Dearie sounds like something my grandmother would call me. I decide I'll get more information before I climb back into bed with a potentially possessed girlfriend. "Are you awake, sweetie?" No response. The eyes dart from me to the wall, to the door, and then to the ceiling. I'm about to nope out of the room when her wide eyes rolled to the back of her head. The white from those eyes stand out in the dim radiance of the book light. "No pupils in sight," she insists. "Of course I'm awake. Come back to bed." With a subtle tap of the fingers onto the comforter. Looking at her fingers now, I'm starting to come around. She's never sleepwalked before. Surely she's awake now, she's moving her hands. But looking at her fingers, it's as though she's pretending to have control of them. They're all going in different directions. One finger is pointing straight down, and the other's to the side. Those hands are not my girlfriend's hands. They're simulating normal movements as best that they can, though. I said, "I'm gonna go get a drink of water, baby. I'll be right back. Can I get you anything?" I was fully planning to run out of the house, but my normally agreeable and sweet girlfriend decides that I'm not allowed to leave. And as serious as cancer, she says in that too deep horror voice, "Take one step out of that door, and I will rip out your throat and shit down your neck." Shocked, but understanding the importance of not letting this beast know that I am in trouble, I reply, "As interesting as a proposition as that is, I think I'm going to..." And thinking quickly, I grab my water bottle from the nightstand. This doesn't please my girlfriend, and she decides to start screaming and fingering her way towards me. It is a supernatural scream, so high pitched and bird like, I feel as though my neighbors 3 houses down were going to ask us if they heard that last night. As fast as I can muster, I unscrew the lid and douse her in water. Like I knew what I was doing, her eyes close, her garbled appendages normalize, and she is back asleep. I'm gonna go sleep on the couch for a while, maybe forever. She'll understand when she's awake. And part 2. My hands tremble over the keyboard, and I may have a concussion, so please forgive any typos or brevity of my update. It is the morning after my typically amenable and kind hearted girlfriend's body was possessed in sleep by some malicious entity. I've been distant this morning, so she knows something is amiss. But obviously, still reeling from the experience, I can't yet tell her that she tried to rip out my throat and shit down my neck. You understand. I'm tired. Obviously, I didn't sleep last night, but I did stay up most of the night with all the lights on, feverishly clutching my water bottle in the living room. The demonic beast inside my girlfriend managed to creep its way back into control sometime soon after I exited the room and pinned it closed with a dining room chair. Given her eye movements and the activation delay, my theory is that the beast is allowed to control during REM, but what do I know? Spent most of the evening attempting to coax me back into the bedroom, this time with a pinch more emotional intelligence, calling out to me in what was as close to my girlfriend's normal voice as it could manage. Come to bed, sweetie. Why are you sleeping on the couch again? I decide I'm not going to validate this demon with a response. But moments later, the too deep sinister voice is back. If you don't open the door, I will slit the cat's throat. Fuck, I forgot about the cat. He's still in the bedroom, probably cowering in fear, hissing in the corner to no avail. My guess is that the cat is already dead, but what can I do? Let our beloved kitty be eaten alive by someone he trusts? I've seen enough horror movies to know that this is the moment I have to decide to do something dumb and heroic, or die on screen while everyone yells about how much of an idiot I am for opening the door. I may have a little more sympathy for these characters now. People thrust in impossible situations are forced to make impossible choices. Against my better judgment, I'm going to open the door and get the cat out of the room. Staring at the bedroom door now, and I notice something damp and muscly poking and prodding its way from under the door. I point my phone's flashlight at it, and I realize that it's my girlfriend's tongue. I catch myself experiencing an intrusive thought, wondering if she will want to know why her mouth is full of cat hair tomorrow. If this is perfect, I need to test out my new technique, a spray bottle full of sink water. I spray the tongue as it inchworms itself around the edge of the door, presumably looking for purchase on my human flesh. It immediately recoils, and I hear the body inside collapse. Water is still a demon possession off switch, I decide, and immediately tear the chair away from holding the door locked. I don't even have time to think about whether I have holy water on tap. I need to act fast. Attempting to open the door now, my significant other's unconscious body is blocking me from entering. It requires quite a bit of force to slide her ragdoll body behind the door so that I can squeeze through. Trying not to look too closely at her, I realize that she is sweating a black, oily substance, and the bed and floor are totally drenched. I realize the reason that it was so difficult to open the door was that the demon's sweat was sticky. Was she stuck to the ground? Carefully, I avoided stepping in the demon's super glue, and I'm now inside the bedroom. To my dismay, I don't see the cat right away. It makes sense. It must have frightened the hell out of it and crawled under the bed. Yikes. I've got to persuade it out from under the bed now. That'll mean I need to get down on my belly to reach it. Realizing the absurdity of my situation, I have one hand pointing a spray bottle at my dead-asleep girlfriend and one hand reaching under the bed to grab my cat. My eyes were trained on my girlfriend as I reach blindly under the dark bed. I can feel my cat's soft fur. I wrap my hand around it and attempt to bring it towards me. It wriggles free from my grasp with evidently zero intention of making this easy. It crawls deeper under the bed. Frustrated, I take my eyes off my girlfriend to look where it went. There is no sign of it, and I make the call to put down the spray bottle and point my phone flashlight under the bed. It's too deep underneath for me to get to it from this side. I'm going to need to go around to the other side to capture it. Pulling my head back from underneath the bed, I realize my fatal error. My girlfriend is woken up. She is standing over me, a dark tower, as I lay vulnerable on the ground beside the bed. Her teeth look sharper from this angle than my phone's flashlight. Why did I not turn on the bedroom light? She's drooling that black, oily goo. Her hair, normally a gorgeous brown, is so glossed with black paste that it has slicked itself to her head like she's just gotten out of the shower. Her eyes are menacing, wide open, bloodshot, and yellow. She looks tired. I'm tired too, but it's time to go. The cat heroics can wait. I'm so filled with adrenaline, so I'm just about to scuttle around her legs and out the door, but as I'm doing it, she grabs both ankles with both of her arms. I remember her typically gentle touch is nowhere to be found in this grip as her nails dig shallow wounds into my legs. With inhuman strength, she begins raising my entire body weight by my legs, plainly in an attempt to start eating me alive from the toes up. Little does she know, I've never skipped a leg day in my life. I kicked my girlfriend square in her teeth with both feet. She drops me on my head, but I can't feel it. While she is stunned, I manage to get to my feet, carefully avoid the supernatural paste, and exit the room. Hand shaking, I adjust the chair to the correct angle just in time to hear agitated knocking on the other side of the door. Baby, come back to bed. It's late. You're going to be so tired at work tomorrow. All of that, and I didn't even get the damn cat out. My spray bottle's still in there as well. What the hell am I gonna do now? On to part 3. Here is what I know. 1. The possession ends when she wakes up. Did any of that really happen? 2. She has no recollection of the previous night. 3. Water disables it, but only momentarily, maybe 2 to 3 minutes. 4. The black ooze she drools and sweats while possessed evaporates? The bed and floor were wet this morning from the water I sprayed. The rest had disappeared by the time that I checked. 5. The cat is fine. And 6. I need help. She's taking work calls in the other room. I'm doing my best to focus on my own work, but my mind drifts from my laptop screen and I can't focus. Agreeing to myself that I won't get anything worthwhile done today, I give up and I start thinking about the next steps. I think I need an exorcist. I'm not the kind to call an exorcist. I'm the kind of guy that scoffs at the idea. They're all scams. You can't have experience in something that doesn't exist. Clearly, I'm not the religious type, but I'll table my reservations about that now. I'm not going through all of that again on my own. I'm feeling totally out of my element, but I'm unwilling to call a church, so I found an exorcist on Craigslist. Price is no object, I said. Let's get this thing out of my girlfriend. He says he'll come over tonight. He messages me that it is of the utmost importance that my girlfriend's waking body does not find out what we are about to do. If she does find out and she is not able to fall asleep, there's no refunds. How much more could I expect from a Craigslist exorcist, I guess? I am certainly not thrilled with the idea of a stranger knowing my address, but I'm not backing out now. As you can imagine, this is the slowest slog of a day that I've experienced in my life. I am anxious. I feel physically sick, and I jump at everything that my girlfriend says. I can't look her in the eyes without imagining that eerie yellow tinge behind them. Around lunchtime, I hear her humming happily in the kitchen. She really has no idea, does she? A profound sense of certain death washes over me as I watch her wield a knife to cut vegetables. Finally, the workday's over. My acting this evening was on par with any Oscar winner. Remembering what the exorcist told me and failing to come up with an excuse, I got into bed with her. I made sure to place the cat in a comfortable spot in the living room, out of the bedroom. We're reading side by side when she leans over, kisses me goodnight, and turns out her bedside table light. I'm going to keep mine on for now, thank you very much. My tense body with the desire to bolt, we begin to spoon. She cannot learn that something is wrong. Just a little bit longer, I have to pretend. Figure I'm safe as long as I exit before she's asleep. She raises her head and she asks, "Why is your heart beating so fast?" Thinking quickly, I just freaked myself out by my book is all. Maybe reading horror before bed is not the best decision. Thankfully, she laughs at my obsession for the macabre and returns her head to the pillow. I count down from 3 minutes. That's 180 Mississippis. She must have been close to sleep because she didn't protest when I got up. I install the chair as my lock and I wait. "Where are you, Pumpkin? Can't you sleep?" This is so close to my girlfriend's voice that I'm certain I made the whole thing up. I'll play it safe, I decide, and I won't respond. Again, she says, "It's cold without you, baby. Come back to bed." I'm sure it's cold as hell where this thing is from. I'm certainly not opening the door. "There's someone coming up the driveway. It's late. Don't let them in." I stand up to answer the front door. Outside, in the dim front door light, is a tall man clad in a traditional priest garb. He looks like Ethan Hawke from that movie, First Reformed, but clearly with a body covered in tattoos as evidence of the inked skin poking out from underneath his cuffs. Pretty much exactly what you would expect from a Craigslist exorcist. There's not much time to introduce ourselves as we hear the alarming scrape coming from inside the bedroom. I take this moment to read the priest's face and check if he actually has experience with this. He at least seems to be brave. His face gives no indication that he's wearing a costume for a quick buck. Outside of the bedroom door now, in hushed tones, he begins to explain what he's about to do. Brandishing a Bible and a small jar of holy water, I decide not to explain that the sink water works fine. We're about to open the door. Hands on the chair, I hear the scraping again. This time, I realize the sound was never coming from the bedroom. It came from the living room. To my left, I hear the stranger breathe out softly. Cat. The cat has been watching us the whole time. Its normally green eyes are now bloodshot and yellow, no pupils in sight, poking around from around the corner. Black paste drools from its agape mouth, leaving a snail trail of fluid behind it as it stalks out into the open. It attempts to hiss while making eye contact with the priest, but all that comes out is a bubbling gurgle of fluid leaks onto the hardwood. Are the cat's legs longer than usual? It looks like it's grown 5 inches in height. Typically sits around ankle level, but right now it could stand above my knees. I curse quietly to myself. How could I have been so stupid? Of course the cat managed to get itself possessed. Spent the whole night in the bedroom, presumably mopping up that vicious black oil, wet food with its mouth. So we have a new plan. The cat is now first. I shit you not, the cat fucking talks. Its mouth doesn't move from its totally agape resting position, but the voice comes out of its mouth. It's that same too deep nightmare voice that I'm all familiar with. I told you not to let him in. Just then my girlfriend decides she needs attention again. Consistent rapping of knuckles on the door. Let me out, let me out, let me out! I'm triaging the situation in my mind when I realized the moment I took my eyes off the cat, it had rocketed itself forward, climbing the priest's tall body, wrapping its 2 long legs around its neck, and constricts him like a snake. It maintains dull eye contact with me as I look on in horror. The priest drops his Bible and holy water on the ground, attempting to tear the cat's octopus-like legs away from its neck. He succeeds momentarily and cites what I assume is a Bible verse. The cat puts a stop to this with a quick navigation of its tail deep down into the priest's throat. Coughing and hysterical, he can't manage to escape its impossible grip, claws digging bloody fissures into his neck. It's now my turn as I grab the holy water from the ground and grapple with the cat's jaw, pouring the contents of the jar down its slime-obstructed throat. Immediately, the cat falls to the ground like a corpse. Legs splayed in every direction, it lays on the ground, defeated, for now. Once the cat is safely inside its travel carrier, the priest and I share a grim look. I ask him if he's ever dealt with this kind of thing before. Rubbing his neck, he says, of course, 1,000 times. It takes a great deal of conviction for me to not physically roll my eyes. Well, glad to have you around then. Part 4. Slime tendrils seek blind escape from air holes in the side of my travel carrier as I explain to the priest not to swallow any of the black liquid. I think there may be not much hope for him now that the cat's tail has penetrated deep into his throat, but we can discuss that later. My train of thought is interrupted by the sobbing harassment of a girlfriend possessed in the bedroom. You don't love me. You never loved me. The doorknob shakes with dreadful force, tremors ringing through the hallway. Fingers emerge at the bottom of the door, vicious oil dripping from under the splotched fingernails. Open this door or I kill the girl. The fingers vanish. A pause. I hear breaking glass inside the room. Is it planning to jump out of the window? Surely it's bluffing. We're on the 3rd floor. Like any parasitic creature, it wouldn't gravely harm its precious host, right? There's a renounced sense of urgency at this threat, but I am at a loss. We poured holy water down the cat's throat, but its body is already turned into an abomination I can only describe as the alien from The Thing. I wonder to myself if one of those squirming legs is going to detach, spread a blinking eyeball, and hide in the vent. I feel totally helpless. I can't stay up all night misting my girlfriend like she's a damn pet chameleon for the rest of my life. Still out of breath from being choked by my cat, the priest manages to wheeze. We need to open this door. What will we do? I ask. Water stops her only for a minute. It's too dangerous to perform the rites while she's in this form. We'll get her in the shower and then restrain her. Well, that is a good idea. Why didn't I think of that? Feeling a touch more brave as the priest increasingly proves himself as an asset, I begin to remove the chair. Thank you, baby. Why did you lock me in here? I've been so scared. My subconscious will forever be unwilling to separate the pleas of a demonic beast from the genuine pleas of my loving girlfriend. I hesitate, but with effort manage to shrug off this false appeal for normalcy. Chair in my hand, I take a step back from the door. For a single beat, there is silence. The latch clicks. She's opening the door. Shining, black slicked hair emerges, covering her face in totality through the cracks in the door. She seems to have gained several inches in height as her full form comes into view. Then a single ringed yellow eye reveals itself through her long hair. I search in that eye for some sign that she's still in there. Somewhere. Anywhere. She's wielding a broken shard of glass and holding it to her own wrist. There is no time for protest before the priest has already sprayed her down. Her frenzied dodge is thwarted as a second jet of water dampens the pajamas my mother bought her for Christmas. I will never forget the powerlessness I felt in the next few moments. With only a few seconds left to control, the demon cuts my girlfriend's hand cruelly at the wrist with a shard of glass. That not being enough, she gnaws the rest off with her mouth. Completely dismembered, her hand splashes to the ground in a grotesque, murky puddle of blood and oil. Stunned, I witness a transformation of the human body before me. Her body shakes globally and erratically on the ground as her skin regains its color. I remember a classmate from school who had seizures and that we needed to protect her head, but I'm too stunned. The priest doesn't take time to emotionally reckon the fact that my girlfriend just lost her non-dominant hand. He scoops her up, rushes her to the shower, and turns on the water. A mixture of shell shock and possibly a concussion leave me standing idle while I stare in slow motion from the severed fists to the shower back to the bedroom. The beast has been proficiently turning our bedroom into some kind of nest. The walls, windows, and ceilings are all painted in black as night paste with the consistency of spoiled milk. Dripping from the ceiling fan onto the bed, our furniture is unrecognizable in the spiderweb of fluid coating our room. The priest is washing his hands in the bathroom sink. He comes and stands before me, shaking at the shoulders, evidently having been demanding things of me for the last few seconds. Anybody home? We need to act. I need your help now, he says. I finally come back to reality. Priest, now gritting his teeth in manic at the seeming inability to cope with the fact that life will never go back to normal. Do you have any rope or handcuffs or anything to restrain her with? I have some bungee cords down in my car. I'll get them. I sprint to the stairs and bellow down them 3 at a time. I grab the keys off the key hook and I run to the car, locate the bungee cords in the trunk, and rush back upstairs. The priest has torn apart a medical cabinet looking to apply first aid to my girlfriend's arm and is applying pressure as I approach. I frantically tie a single bungee cord as a makeshift tourniquet to slow the bleeding. We carry her lifeless body to the bed and restrain her to the frame, both legs and one arm. Her head hangs limp. I wonder how long it will be before she turns back into that monster. But then she wakes up. She looks at me, totally disoriented, then cries desperately as the pain sets in. It's okay, baby, it's okay. I know this is bad, but believe me, we're working on it, I said. There's a lump in my throat as I sit down on the bed, repeatedly kissing her on the forehead. She's in so much pain. I must want the monster to take back control so that she cannot feel it anymore. Mercifully, she faints. Eyes still open, I point her chin up towards me and watch as that hollowness returns. From brown to yellow, her pupils go opaque in their descent into madness once again. Tears and blood still on her face, she smiles. It is over. You have failed. Amen. That too familiar deep voice reverberates through a sinister grin. How is this winning in the eyes of the creature? It is restrained more so than before. It knows something that we don't. Something moves in my peripheral. It is my girlfriend's severed hand, fingers patting across the floor like a spider. A trail of sludge follows as it reaches its destination, the spray bottle. It senses that we've seen it, its form turning to look at us with no ability to see. The hand leaps, tackling the spray bottle and tumbling awkwardly down the stairs. I am speechless. We have to go after it. We can't let it get out of the house. Violent thrashing from the bedroom. The priest says, "Their knots are holding. You go after the hand. I will perform the rites." Running down the stairs, I hear the distant murmurings of the ritual. Lord above, Redeemer of the world, have mercy on us. It's just a hand. It couldn't have gone far. It could have let the cat out. It could be worse. It could be worse. I turn on the lights as I go. It's on the first floor. I tiptoe over black slime, extra cautious so as to not get any on me. I'm reminded of the time that my pet snake escaped, and my girlfriend and I spent an entire afternoon looking for it. But looking for a snake isn't like looking for a cat. Cats get underneath and above objects. Snakes can get inside objects. A hand could be anywhere. In between the couch cushions, inside the laundry machines. It could already even be outside. Finally, I find it. I have it cornered, and it's behind the refrigerator. I act like I haven't noticed the trail of slime leading right there and walk as casually as possible to the cabinet to fill a glass of water. My weapon is at the ready. I walk to the side of the fridge and peek behind it. Nothing. Suddenly, a prolonged silhouette covers the kitchen light. Pouncing like an insect, the hand leaps from the top of the fridge, the perfect height to land right on my face. The hand, still wearing my girlfriend's clasp ring, attaches to my head, pulling my hair until it clenches like a vice grip with a thumb behind the top layer of my teeth, pressing its pointer finger and ring finger into each eye socket. I drop my glass onto the ground. It takes both hands to remove the hand from my face and throw it as hard as I can against the wall. My vision is now blurred, and I pick up my girlfriend's disoriented hand up from the ground and run water over it in the sink. I splash the water into my face and wash out my mouth as best that I can. Hurried, I fill a cooler with ice and water and throw the hand inside. I run back upstairs, hoping, maybe praying, that the priest did his job. It is silent now except for the demonic mews of the cat in the other room. The priest is hulking over my girlfriend, muttering something under his breath as he cradles the Bible in one hand and his fingers point in all directions in the other. Noticing me, he hurriedly shuts his Bible. But something on one of the pages I note that it is in fact not a Bible at all. Instead, I see what I can only imagine are demonic scrolls and symbols. But the priest has done his job, he says. The demon has left her. I carefully place my girlfriend in the back seat of the car, and I yell to the priest, "I'll pay him when we get back." Putting on my seatbelt, I look out the window and note a tattoo on his arm similar to a symbol that I saw in the false Bible. Driving to the hospital like a husband would if his wife had gone into labor, I wonder if you can surgically reattach a hand like you can a finger. Then I wonder if the hand even should be reattached. Do I need to ask the priest to perform his rituals to just a hand? This is 4 years after the fact of the other one. I apologize to all of you for not providing answers sooner. I wasn't going to write this out, but you all deserve to know. They told me that she was in a coma and that she may never wake up. The cops questioned me for hours, clearly unable to hide their suspicions as they scribbled notes behind clipboards. I don't think of myself as a good liar, but I was clearly distressed. I told them that a drunk driver hit us and ran us off the road, that her hand got stuck in the twisted metal and I had to personally saw it off with a pocket knife. Her wound was a mangled stump, torn flesh hanging in ragged, uneven strips, so I guess they believed me. I just prayed no one found the severed hand that we locked in the cooler back at the house. I was traumatized by all that had happened that day, and I spent a lot of time in a doom spiral feeling sorry for myself. None of it made sense to me. I couldn't talk to anyone. The only person who would listen was on a ventilator and being fed through feeding tubes in a series of sterile hospital rooms. I couldn't sleep. On the rare occasion that I did, I dreamt that she spoke to me while still lying there, immobilized, just like she had before. But now each night she asked me to kill her, to pull the plug, to end her pain. I would wake up sweating, unsure of what was real. but she would always still be lying there, catatonic. When she developed the rash, harsh white and red splotches, they told me that it was thrush. They didn't believe me when I insisted that I had seen her skin moving. Her skin somehow became thinner, almost translucent. I could see through it, and underneath there were these living patches of obsidian. Mottled continents of the stuff would move if I had touched her. No one else could see it. They thought I was crazy, and I felt crazy, but it was alive inside her. I gave up on trying to convince anyone. I feared that they would kick me out, or worse, institutionalize me. Besides, it was mesmerizing. The movement under her skin made it somehow easy to stay calm, and I would lose hours just staring into it. So I was hardly listening to the doctor when they told me that they were sending us home finally. I cared for her and myself. Soon after her arriving home, her body started to secrete a black ooze again, the same kind that filmed our bedroom so many nights before. This time, however, it didn't evaporate or disappear during the daytime. I was told a coma is not the same as a sleep, but the slime only ever came while she was asleep in the past. So I cleaned, and time soon blended together. Eventually, I fell asleep. My dream was all dark until I knew that she was in the bedroom. I sat up against the pillows, my eyes drawn to a hunched shape in the corner. A man faced away from me, his spine protruding like knuckles. He contorted his knees somehow. They bent backwards, and his face was looking at me upside down. I wanted to run, but the blankets felt as heavy as lead, and I could not move. He galloped towards me impossibly, like a contortionist on all fours. He is too fast. Getting closer. His head spins on a swivel to face me up right now, and there are 2 crimson pits. The pits are his eyes, and up close they look like rotted apples. Blackness where the stem should be goes on indefinitely, and I know that he can see me. He smiles, a crocodile smile, sharp, teeth, lusting for my flesh. I brace for the bite that will drain me of life when I wake up. I looked around in a daze, cursed at myself for falling asleep, sprinting into the bedroom, sliding uncontrollably on a lake of black liquid. And believe me, I know how crazy this sounds when I say it. She had transformed. Something laying in the bed where she used to once lay was not my girlfriend. It was a massive balloon of skin and hair and translucent skin still revealing the swirling black. A big wheezing filled the room like a haunted metronome. The bed springs groaned with the rise and fall of its breath. I thought she was gone forever. This thing must have eaten her. But then I saw the eye, tethered to the side of the tortured skin, green with flecks of gold, beautiful and intelligent. It was her eye. It blinked sluggishly at me. She was awake. She was alive. I didn't know what else to do, so I talked to her. I told her that this too shall pass. I hope I sounded convincing. We developed a system where 1 blink meant yes and 2 blinks meant no. 2 blinks meant no. This became helpful because I could clean her form without hurting her. The black ooze overwhelmed me now and covered me from head to toe. The bedroom was permanently steeped in the slime, and if I stood in one place too long, it seemed to firm up and glue my feet to the floor. I tracked it all throughout the house. I was tired. I felt like if I fell asleep again, it would consume me, though, and that I would never wake up. I don't know how many days I stayed awake. I know now, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, but the slime on my skin had an effect on my brain. It was like a form of hypnosis, I think. The more of it that got on my skin, the less tethered to reality I felt. It took me way too long to figure that out. I was a helpless marionette, suspended in a Cronenberg movie, as I cleaned and cleaned and cleaned again. Eventually, the perpetual daze loop was interrupted by the doorbell. It scared the shit out of me. And I prayed whoever that it was would just go away. But then they started really knocking on the door. I decided I need to look out the window to see who it was. The priest's car was blocking mine in the driveway. Why hadn't I called him already? It sounded like he would break the window, so I let him in. He wasted no time. Why didn't you answer my calls? He demanded, then brushed right past me with his briefcase and inspected the first still puddle of the black ichor from hell. I. My dehydrated lips stuck together like my mouth hadn't produced saliva in days. The priest stared at me, shook his head, reached into his suitcase, wet a rag with a brown blue fluid. Wipe your skin with this, then get changed, he said. Clearly concerned, he handed me the soaking rag. It smelled like olive oil, and black smoke plumed from it when it touched the bile on my hands. Strangely, it did not feel hot. What is it? I asked. It's called chrism, he said. It will banish the mire. Stop. The voice again. I ignored it. But as I cleaned my hands and wrists with the rag, it spoke more and more urgency. Sleep. The voice in my head that commanded me to do things. It was like it was saying things that I would have thought to do anyway. But now the voice became softer, more distant, like it was coming from down the hallway. That's when my vision tunneled. I went temporarily blind and had to stabilize myself against the wall. I was confident I would pass out. But then I could see myself. It was like an out-of-body experience. There I was at the grocery store in the produce section, spreading the black mire on the stacks of potatoes. But then light and more light, and I'm back in the foyer again. It's the strangest feeling, like I had just woken up from a long dream. Had I done that? I couldn't remember. I opened the dresser and found dry clothes and put them on. It was like experiencing silence for the very first time. Like a schizophrenic tinnitus was cured. Reality came flooding back. Someone is here. Yes, the priest. He looked like he may as well have been the second coming of Jesus as he moved confidently through the house. But that image soon faded when he cornered past me into the kitchen, rooted around under the sink, produced trash bags, tore off several for himself, then handed me the roll. You been busy, huh? He asked. Sober now, I realized what he was talking about. I was in awe. Someone had spread the black liquid everywhere in the house. It paved the walls, the floors, the toilet, the ceiling where I could reach, the sinks. Did I do that? I didn't remember any of that. Chrism won't help at this stage, he said matter-of-factly, then tore a hole in one of the bags as he pulled it over his head like a makeshift poncho. This late in the incubation, there's nothing that we can do. Incubation? What the hell? Yes, he pulled the trash bag over his hands one by one. I am sorry. I eradicated the possession with the rites, but I didn't anticipate the parasite. My mind started to feel like mush again. The priest continued. The demon, I suspect, summoned by the solar cult, the one that possessed her. It was the host to a pain elemental. All I had to do was offer an incarnation in a young host, corporeal flesh, a chance to feel real pain, and it took them up on it. I ripped a hole in my trash bag, too big for it to be of any use. This was all too much to take in. We'd gone through hell, and he hadn't fixed her. Hopelessness had washed over me yet again. Look, man, I don't care what it is, demon, ghost, evil, fricking spirit, you just saw her. She's unrecognizable. Try the rites again. That won't work. But sensing my distress, he motioned for me to follow him to the bedroom. But just so you don't second guess me later, I'll show you. He dug through his briefcase and produced the tome, then flipped to the right page and began reading. Lord above, hear my call. My girlfriend's one eye began blinking frantically. 2 blinks, a pause, then 2 blinks. No, 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 no. Then she winced as a fresh mound of skin bubbled out from the surface, as of what I now knew was an egg. From the mound formed a slit, which ripped open, revealing sharp white teeth and a cascade of blood. I recognized it instantly, the crocodile smile from my dream. The tension was killing me. What was it going to do? I was too scared to move, too scared it would talk. If it did, I would scream. But it was still. Then, like a snake unhinging its jaws, the mouth opened, a cavernous maw impossibly wide, until finally it bit down. Hard. Blood. Red blood waterfalled from the bite over the black layer of mire. A tear formed in my girlfriend's eye. I reached over and slammed the tome shut while it was still in the priest's hands. I'd seen enough. It was one thing to accept that she was still alive inside that thing. It was another to accept that this egg was her body and she could still feel pain. When the dust from the tomes started to settle, the mouth mercifully let go. Then it smiled that wicked smile that still haunts me to my dreams to this day. Listen, it will feed on her pain until she dies, the priest said into my ear. We can antagonize it all you want, but it will do no good. I was a complete mess. I didn't understand what was happening. Oh, so you've gotten a million ways to banish a literal servant of Satan, but you can't do shit about the egg for a fucking hate leech? I shouted, wiping my girlfriend's eye with a crinkling trash bag covered hand. Yes, I'm afraid. Well, it's fucking bullshit, man. I stood up defiantly and he grabbed me by both shoulders. Focus. She can still hear you in there if you want to say your goodbyes. Once she has passed, I yelled, immediately wishing that she hadn't heard me say that. I paced around the room. I punched a crippled star into the drywall. The priest kept one eye on me, one on her. He did look sorrowful, standing there with crossed arms. I took some deep breaths. I hated him, but I had no choice but to trust him. I reassured myself that he was just trying to help. I left the bedroom and opened the cabinet where we keep the liquor. Thank God, it hadn't spread the mire in here yet. I poured a shot of tequila. Half as much went into the bar cart as it did into the glass. I barely tasted it. My hands were already pouring again, but they were shaking too much that I gave up and took the next swig right from the bottle. I heard a knock, a series of knocks actually. I stood completely still. The warmth from the liquor spread deeper into my throat. I listened and heard only antagonizing breathing coming from the bedroom, then another knock. 1, 2, 3. Someone at the door? No, it sounded closer than that. Muffled knocks coming from the cooler. The one that stashed my girlfriend's severed hand. The same hand that terrorized the both of us, hunting us just as we hunted it all throughout the house. To avoid mass hysteria, we never brought it to the hospital. If the staff had seen it, we knew that there was no way in hell that she would be treated. The cooler was inexplicably untouched by the black film that covered everything else in the house. And a knock was new. Before the exorcism, it was never organized enough for a knock. It was scratching, always scratching at the walls inside. Had it woken up at the same time that she did inside the egg? I took 2 steps to the cooler and stooped down next to it, and I knocked back. 1, 2, 3 knocks. It responded. 1, 2, 3 knocks. I pulled off the tape and wrenched the lid open, not caring if it leaped at me and vice gripped my throat again. Then there it was, flat, splayed like a spider with human skin in a pool of its own blood. It sensed freedom, catapulted itself at the inner walls to try and escape. It failed and splashed back down into the blood. It was much slower than it was before. Exhausted. I wasn't afraid of it anymore. I picked it up. It curled into a fist in my hands as if it was comfortable there. I cleaned it under the sink. Blood and water refused to mix with the bile that hopelessly clogged the drain. It even let me dry it with a kitchen towel. It was her, I decided, not the demon and not the parasite. Put it back in the cooler, the priest demanded uneasily. His eyes wide and they were glued to the hand. She somehow sensed him, then leaped to the kitchen island. Her class ring clinked on the countertop as she landed. Wait, I said, holding the priest back. We both stared slack-jawed as it inchwormed its way across the table. It fumbled over an old magazine and phone cables toward what it wanted. A pen. It wanted to write something. It held the pen to the paper, but it was struggling. The first note came out illegible. And I was petrified that we would never actually learn what it was trying to say. It had no wrist to help prop itself up, I decided, so I held it up, hovered it over the magazine until it was done. One scribbled, hastily drawn word. Prism. It's her, I said, ripping the page from the magazine and shoving it maybe too hard into the priest's chest. He read it, and he nodded knowingly. Yes, I'm not surprised that she knows what it fears. But the very fact that she knows what chrism is means that it's too late. The parasite and her mind are already one. I was no longer listening. I was busting my ass sliding on wet bile, running back to the bedroom. I slammed the door shut and locked it. The priest was hot on my heels, banging on the door behind me. Stop, he demanded. She's already let it in. Chrism will merely delay the inevitable. I prayed the briefcase had no combination lock. None. I dug out the vial of chrism, dropping a single drop on the living mound of skin and hair. The black swirling under her skin stopped, and all the time I cared for this thing that had never happened. My eyes never left the mouth, always expecting it to bite down again, but at the touch of Chrism it fled, somehow, beneath the folds of the skin. Survival instinct. It was true. It was scared. A mad smile formed onto my face. Then the faintest glimmer of hope at the center of a smoking drop, the lighter shade of my girlfriend's skin. The priest kicked down the door. He was stronger than he looked. I fell on my trash bag covered ass right to the slime. You didn't let her finish. It's fire, not Chrism, that will kill it. Look. He handed me another page torn from the magazine, a longer message this time. Light the bed on fire and run. I looked deeply into her one eye. I was so confused. None of it made any sense to me. Why would she change her mind? I bent down close to look into her one eye and spoke right into it. Look, honey, I trust that you know what you need. I don't understand why you said Chrism first, but if it's fire that you need, then fire it is. I told her that I loved her and that the pain would be over soon. Reese lit a match, held it below a rolled up newspaper until it caught and formed a makeshift torch. He handed it to me. He wanted me to be the one to put her out of her misery, to have the blood on my hands. I was about to toss her on her too when she blinked twice into the firelight. Twice for no. I stopped. I threw the newspaper to the hardwood, stomped it out, and polluted steam from the melting plastic filled my nostrils. What are you doing? The priest shouted as if I was insane. She blinked. No, goddammit. Of course she did. Would you want to be lit on fire? The hand is her. The eye is her. You said the hand wrote to light her on fire, but the eye said no. I tore the new note out of my pocket. The priest tried to swipe it from my hands, but I turned and evaded his reach. Scribbled, hastily drawn handwriting like the first one. But something imperceptibly different. On the first one, the hand could hardly press down enough to make a mark. The words on this page were steady and even. The amount of pressure applied would have been impossible for her. She hadn't written this note. The priest had lied. Get out, I declared, pointing to the door. He put up both his hands to placate me. Calm down. Burning is standard protocol. You've seen what happened to your house. If it gets out, get the fuck out. I shoved him hard in the chest. He crashed back into the wall. I followed, grabbing him by his coat, and threw him into the splash tile at the front door. You don't understand, he grimaced. She is the host. He feeds off her suffering. You have to kill both, or it can be passed on to the next available host. Then it spreads, and if it spreads, it... He was stammering, distressed. I get it. So that was the plan all along, huh? Kill her to kill it? You left out the part where you could save her, huh? Then what about me? I was covered from head to toe in the mind-melting black stuff when you got here. Was I the next host? Were you going to kill me too? My clan does as the utmost one declares, he muttered. At that moment, my girlfriend's severed hands skidded around the corner, and as deft as a spider, fingers moving in a blur like little dog's legs, across the room and climbed the priest's pant leg. He reached for it, but it vaulted in a series of perfect dodges until it made it to his face and latched on. Fingernails dug deep into his eyes in a determined claw. Blood immediately boiled out of his sockets like red tears. He was screaming and fell to the ground, blinded, until he could finally rip it off. The hand scurried beneath the couch. I figured I shouldn't wait for him to decide his god wanted me dead too, so I hit him over the head with his briefcase. It connected, and he lay knocked out cold in the black slime. It began to grow over him, and I knew that soon it would cover him completely as well. I opened the briefcase, and a myriad of contents unrecognizable to me spilled out onto the floor. Then there it was, the vial of Chrism. It was unlike any liquid I'd ever seen. Cities of blue, blinking in perfectly organized lines, creating purple swirls and glittered dots with excited light. My mind was racing. My heart pounded in my chest. I still couldn't think straight. But he wanted fire. She wanted Chrism. Good enough for me. So I opened the vial. I poured it over her form, arms raised to their zenith as I spread it over her mounds of tortured skin. A dense mist steamed again where the Chrism met the ichor, and the room soon was fully obscured with black smoke. I couldn't see anything, and I thought my mind was playing tricks. But I could hear her. The smallest choke of a voice that I hadn't heard in so long. Help. She was buried deep in mist and flesh. I was up in it to my elbows, not caring that I was breathing it in until I felt bone. Her skin, the curve of a shoulder, she was intact, breathing, lying sideways in otherworldly gore. I pulled her out. I'll never forget how light she felt. I brought her to the shower, cleaned the wounds where the creature's teeth had bit her. I soaked a towel in the last of the chrism and wrapped her in it. Her body became obscured by plumes of black smoke one last time. I was worried that she was going to suffocate, but then I heard a groan behind me, the waking of the priest. I turned. He was almost completely covered in the black slime when his bloodshot eyes bolted open, and then he was on his feet. "What have you done?" he shouted as he ran to the bedroom. "I saved her life, no thanks to you." "You fool, you let it loose," he yelled. I turned the water off, careful to lay my girlfriend's head down gently, and followed him to the bedroom. He was kneeling, praying, his bloodied eyes wide open on his knees behind the bed. Trash bags askew, his bare skin was soaked in mire in 1,000 pieces. Then he nodded to himself, and I heard a hush, "Amen." Then he started collecting the bits of melted egg, forming it like clay together in a singular pile. "What are you doing?" I asked. He ignored me and kept working. He was determined, and when he was done, he turned to me. He had crafted the form of a newborn calf. He cradled it in his arms like a proud farmer. Ooze bridged from the creature to his hands in slimy tendrils. When he came closer, I could see the animal in full. It was the one from my dream. But this was no animal. No. It would grow into a man. His knees would bend the wrong way, and when its eyes opened, they would be crimson, like rotten apples. And the black where the stem should be would go on indefinitely. The priest was too calm. He said in a tone too severe, "Promise me, after it is done, burn us both." He handed me a box of matches. I meant to say something, but nothing came out. All that I could do was nod. "Kill him. Kill him. Kill him." I ignored the voice in my head. The priest was praying out loud again. "Father, I heed your instructions. Pass this evil to me. Stop him. Kill him." He held the creature's nose to a piece of his arm skin that was covered in slime. It sniffed for a moment, then without opening its eyes, took a bite. The creature's teeth cut through his skin like a hot knife. It ate him alive. He screamed for a long time, too long, until finally all that he could do was twitch. It was a merciless death. And then it woke up. Red eyes, crocodile smile. It had gained strength from eating him. It had grown significantly in size, right in front of my very eyes. And his eyes beckoned at me. "Approach." I was already holding a match to the striking strip on the side of the box. "Stop." I lit the match. The eyes widened, and infinite blackness commanded me. "Discard." I closed my eyes, and death was running at me like a hound. I threw the match blindly forward, and I was sure it would be close enough now to eat my hand. But when I opened them again, the creature was engulfed in flames. The eyes beckoned for me behind the flames. "Join me." I closed my eyes again. I turned and ran out of the room blindly. The bed creaked and groaned as the creature flailed. I felt my way to the bathroom, scooped up my girlfriend, and intended to run out the front door. But then the black goop that had painted the walls, floors, and furniture evaporated in an instant. It was like somebody flipped a switch, and the room went from night to day. I could see our art on the walls again, the bright orange of our standing mixer in the kitchen. The sinks gurgled as water that pooled was now free to drain. It was dead. It's been several months since then. My girlfriend lives. She told me it felt like sleep paralysis, or like the anesthesiologist got it all wrong and she'd woken up during an operation. There was pain, so much pain, she could not cry out. She dreamed of a personal hell which took the form not of flames, but of watching life carry on without her. She saw her friends die, me die, and our cat die. We think the parasite showed her these images to feed off of her pain. She was forced to live multiple lives worth of suffering while entombed in the egg. This had clearly taken a toll on her mind. She's very distant now, and can't or won't tell me what she's thinking about. I think she has seen things that no human have. I think she has seen things that no human has ever seen or should see. I think she knows what it feels like to truly be alone. But she lives. Every day, a little bit of her old self shines through, and I hope this too shall pass. I spent much of the last several months thinking about the priest. He sacrificed himself to save us, it seems, because he knew what the creature could have turned into. I wonder what the world would look like if it was all covered in the mire. I looked to his tome for answers, but the next time I checked it, all the pages had gone blank. Like they were linked magically to his life or something. I don't know. The only piece of evidence that he was ever here is a flap of skin that the monster left behind. The piece of skin where he had the symbol of his organization tattooed. I treated it with formaldehyde to halt the decomposition. I've spent many nights unable to sleep, sitting up in bed, staring down at that skin. I know that sounds insane. I know that none of this probably makes sense to any of you. Believe me, it wasn't that long ago that I too would have scoffed at the idea of secret societies and demons. But the part that bothers me the most, I think that the priest could talk directly with God. The end. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and I will see you next time.